In a week where March Madness is set, we got the 22nd week of the NBA season, and expansion in the NBA is coming about. I'm back to give you the real in sports. My name is Julian. This is the All Things Sports Podcast. I'm alone tonight, no company, but it's okay because I got you all with me right now. So I appreciate everybody that's in here right now tapping in. I hope everybody's having a good night. We want to get into a couple things and kind of catch up because I feel like it's been a little minute since I've been dropped some content, went live, spoke to y'all. So man, we got a show. I kind of want to just go through some headlines first, and then kind of go through my rundown of what I wanted to get into. But we'll have a bunch of NBA news. We'll talk a little bit of college basketball. Get into some NFL free agency from last week, and maybe if we run into a random thing or two along the road, we'll get into that. But like I said, I wanted to get into some headlines, and one of the headlines I saw today, let me try to share my screen here, was that Alabama's Aiden Holloway was removed from campus after his drug arrest. So this morning we learned that Alabama's basketball Aiden Holloway, their number two scorer, was arrested for a drug charge. Apparently, he had his um, residence searched by Alabama police, and allegedly they found over a pound of weed, and yeah, this was looking at in this afternoon early, and so we were wondering what was going to come from this. Obviously, I just mentioned March Madness is I guess a week away or so, and their second best scorer is facing felony drug charges, two of them in Tuscaloosa County. And so obviously, this isn't New York City, this isn't Florida, this isn't California, where weed is legalized to an extent or all the way. Unfortunately, in Alabama, they don't play about it still. Um, and so, if we just read this article real quick, this says Tuscaloosa County Police spokesperson Stephanie Taylor said that Holloway was arrested Monday morning and transported to the county jail after agents with the West Alabama Narcotics Task Force searched the residence near Alabama's campus and, quote, recovered more than a pound of marijuana, paraphernalia, and cash. Police said that Holloway will be charged with first degree possession of marijuana, not for personal use, which is a Class C felony, and failure to affix a tax stamp, also a felony. His bond was set at $5,000. He was released at 10:45 a.m. local time. Per Alabama law, the possession charge can carry a penalty of up to 10 years in jail and a fine of up to $15,000. Like, obviously, we're not looking at this as if, like, guess who's going to jail tonight, but it, we've since moved from Holloway getting arrested to Holloway removed from campus. And if we read into this article, it's really unfortunate because it says the university announced that star guard has been removed from campus in the wake of his drug arrest. Uh, Says that he'll be off the team until he goes through the school's investigation process, which is conducted outside of the athletic department through the UA, University of Alabama Office of Student Conduct. Look at this here. I was reading this, and it's just so interesting. Alabama, which has won 9 of his past 11 games and has the number 3 offense in the country. They're a 4 seed in the Midwest region, and they're going to play Hofstra on Friday, which is a gimme. Man, what a loss for the tournament if this kid can't get back or if he is dismissed ultimately from the school. I would hope that the school doesn't dismiss, you know, a player for, catching a weed charge. I understand consequences have to be handed down, but um, I don't know. It seems a little much to have him dismissed. It's not like it's a gun charge or some sort of um, I guess what would you say, violent crime. So we'll keep up with that one. But I did want to talk about that as soon as we jumped on here. I also just saw no, can't make that joke. Shout out to Darius Slay. He definitely retired today, called it a career, and it was a great one for him. Jets traded for Justin Fields. And shout out to my boy Jalen. Jalen thinks he's going to get some snaps in the backfield. And that'd be interesting. He said, we're going to see a backfield of Mahomes, Kenneth Walker, and Justin Fields. And I'd be excited to see something like that. Boston Bruins up 2-1 on the New Jersey Devils as we take a look at the scoreboard across. Orlando Magic in the NBA world are trailing 17 points to the Atlanta Hawks. And we're going to talk about the Hawks because they've been surging since the All-Star break and since that Kuminga trade, but they're up 17 on Peacock. Golden State is up on Washington. Portland is up on Brooklyn. Phoenix is trailing Boston by 8. Memphis and Chicago is just getting started, along with Dallas and New Orleans. We got a primetime game tonight, 2 of them actually. Los Angeles Lakers going to Houston to fight for that positioning. I think they're I know that like 3 to 7 seed. We'll get into standings in a second here, but I know that Western Conference is really close, much like the Eastern Conference toward the back end. And then the Clippers are going to host the San Antonio Spurs. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these NBA standings because I wanted to jump into the NBA, talk some power rankings, playoff picture, Jason Tatum return. But the Hawks, I just mentioned the Hawks, and they're 10-1 since the All-Star break. 10-1 since the All-Star break. They're sitting at 9th place, right? Surging upward. Figure they win tonight if they hold on to that lead, and they'll tie themselves, or if not, jump the Sixers for that 8th seed. The Miami Heat since the All-Star break at 9-3, and the Orlando Magic at 10-3. So I was mentioning the East is close on the back end, like 5 through 10 is separated by 4.5 games, right? 5 through 9 is just separated by 2.5. So on the East Coast, we kind of see what's going on up here, right? I think this, I think this is, I can't get it, but you see the top 4. Cleveland at 4, New York at 3, Boston at 2, and Detroit at 1. I think this kind of stays the way it looks right now, whether Boston and New York can flip-flop there. If the Knicks can get hot and win a couple games, that'd be crucial for the Knicks if I'm, saying anything, because if they're going to play Boston or a team like Detroit again and hope to beat them this year, they're definitely going to want home court advantage. And so right now they're at the 3 seed, just a game behind Boston. I do see them being able to jump Boston, but it is going to take a lot. That looks like the lock for the top 4 in the East. I'm just hoping, Miami at that 7 can keep surging this post All-Star break and jump into the playoffs and jump Toronto. I don't see a world where the Toronto Raptors finish ahead of the Miami Heat. Not in this era. So I do expect us to get a top 6 seed. It seems fitting that Toronto, along with the Sixers, Hawks, and I think the Hornets at 10. Yeah, that's a good group for the play-in. Miami, do your business. Let's get in the playoffs. You heard Dwayne Wade. Let's jump to the West, though. I do want to look at the West if I can. I think it's scrolled down. And, man, this has looked very similar all season right here. Just this right here. Thunder and the Spurs. And the West runs through OKC and then San Antonio. Everybody else is 3 through 6. 7 is a stretch. I don't like Phoenix. I don't like the Clippers. Kawhi's having a career year, and I do want to give a lot of credit to Kawhi Leonard. And shout out to my boy Ray, because he was saying that Kawhi Leonard should make NBA first, all NBA first team over Jaylen Brown. And we were hearing, weeks for the last, I say 2 weeks, Jaylen Brown's surge going up for that MVP spot. But, I don't know. For me, I like the Spurs and the Thunder in the West. I'm not really concerned about what the Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, and Timberwolves have going on. I love Anthony Edwards. I don't think the Timberwolves are enough. They don't have enough help for him for them to be considered as a real threat. And then with Denver, I don't know, man. We see them play really good sometimes, and then we just see I I don't know exactly what it is with Denver. They have really good defense and they're scoring. Well, they don't have a really good defense. That's kind of what's hurting them. If you look at the top 5 teams in the West, right? This right here is glaring. Opponent points per game at 117. You're looking at 111, 107, 115, 110. And everybody below them is in the teens. So Denver's defense is going to have to tighten up tremendously. With Aaron Gordon coming back, though, you got to think that really helps down the stretch. So they have a shot, but man, I really don't see anybody in the West beating the Lakers, or excuse me, beating the Spurs or the Thunder. I will say this though. I will say uh, the Spurs' lack of experience makes me maybe double think things. However, I'm not gonna give lack of experience a reason to fail or a reason why something should fail or expected to fail because what we're seeing, first of all, from Victor Wembanyama all season, and since he's been in the league, has been nothing less than phenomenal, alien-like, and dominant. So there's no reason why we should be looking at the Spurs like, for example, how we looked at the Pistons last year, right? We kind of gave them the pass. 6 seed, came out really good, haven't played good in a while, been going through a lot as a franchise, and finally break through with their star draft #1 overall pick, Kate Cunningham. This year, their standard is much higher. I'm sure they're expecting championship or bust. Last year, it was okay to lose in 6 in a cute way versus the Knicks, but to the Spurs, I think that it's full go. There's no excuse. There's no reason. There's no lack of experience in why we didn't win. Wemby's an ultimate competitor, and Mitch Johnson's done a great job since he's taken over the reins from Greg Popovich. So I expect them to do great things in the playoffs. Um, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. But if we're looking at a power rankings top 5, I'm going to go OKC, San Antonio, Boston, Detroit, New York. That's my top 5. OKC, San Antonio, Boston, Detroit, New York, and then Los Angeles. Um, the Lakers, I do want to just talk about them real quick because as of lately, they've been playing really good, and there's a lot of talk with Charles Barkley and Stephen A. These guys talking about contenders or pretenders, and I can't say the Lakers are pretenders, right? They're first in their division, third in the West, playing really good basketball. I think they probably lost one or two in their last 8 or 9 games, and yeah, they look like they're here to win a round. Last year you know they got eliminated by Ant-Man and Minnesota, but it looks like they're poised to win at least their first round matchup. But as it stands right now, what would the playoff picture look like? Um, if all stood right now, the Lakers would be playing the 6th seed, who is the Timberwolves. Ironically, I think that the Lakers, obviously, with Luka Doncic this year, and another year of that chemistry, him building with Braun. Again, I don't think Ant-Man has enough help. I would like to see, or I'd liked to see Jaden McDaniels taking like another step. Defensively, he's done an amazing job, but I would like him to have maybe polished his offensive game a little more to feel comfortable. Not to say he hasn't at all, but maybe more in the sense to feel comfortable to take them on a deep playoff run. But we've seen regression from Rudy Gobert over this, last few weeks, but in the season in general. And yeah, LeBron James is looking young as ever. Luka Doncic is leading the league in scoring and third in assists. I think I was looking into this earlier yesterday, but Luka's averaging over 32 points a game, #1 in the league. This is SGA stuff, and #3 in assists, over 8 assists a game. Um, you don't typically see that, right? You don't typically see number one in scoring and also top five in assists. So it just goes to remind us how special of a player that Luka is, even though sometimes it looks like he's making the game look easy or he's not doing enough. He's definitely impacting every single game he's out there on the floor for, in ways that we don't even see on a nightly basis. Uh, Also, I do want to say shout out to Bam Adebayo, right? Bam Adebayo, everybody was hating on Bam for whatever reason, everybody was hating on Bam, and it's okay, I understand. Some people liked Kobe, right? Some people love Kobe, but some people just be mad. And my bad, y'all. I wasn't looking at the comments, so let me tap into these comments real quick here. Dante said, "Does he receive NIL funding?" Oh, and I wish I remember exactly who you was talking about. See, that's why you gotta look at the comments. Brill said he need them NFL takes. Shout out to Brill. He was talking about. Don't disrespect a man like that, bro. Come on. That's unnecessary. That's unnecessary. Knicks got a weak schedule this week. Good chance they snag that too. It is a good chance. He said Heat not making the play in. Sure, play in legends. I'm crying. I'm crying. Can we get serious, y'all boys? um, I'm gonna get to Dante's question right now. Actually, hold on 1 second. So Dante says, "You got some good questions. You put me on the spot with these questions. I love it." So with the addition of Tatum back in the lineup, I think Kawhi can secure the first team spot for sure. This is a good point. Obviously, Jason Tatum hasn't been expected to do so much coming back, right? Boston kind of wanted to ease him in without minutes restriction, but just not force the ball through him as they have in years past. As his comfort level with his conditioning and everything isn't all the way there. The threat of Jason Tatum being on the floor alone is enough for defenses to react differently and respect it. But it's a great point. Yeah, I mean, he is scoring 20, right? He still is putting up his shots and hitting shots and playing good defense. So I don't. What we got, about 15 to 17 games. It is quite possible that Kawhi can do that, because I'll say this, if Kawhi finishes the season the same way he's playing right now, then I do think he can take that spot over Jaylen Brown. If he kind of regresses a little bit, which is fair because he's playing at a crazy level, but I can see Kawhi maybe regressing a little bit and Jaylen Brown being able to stay at that consistent level with the way the Celtics been playing, and Jason Tatum coming back in turn kind of makes his job easier too. So he can kind of take advantage of this and play it like that. So I would like to see how that ends up. Dante then said Spurs went into the season chip game. Spurs went to the in-season chip game, yeah, versus the Knicks. Wemby had a big game experience with the international competition. Barnes, Cornette, and Fox all have playoff experience. This is facts, Dante. Tell them. And plus, you got to start somewhere, right? You trying to get that job, we might cap on a resume, right? We might have to sit, you know what I'm saying? And we at work looking like Young Thug and Dirk. Like, damn, how we get here with that little internet? But sometimes you just got to put yourself in that fire and find out what you're made of, bro. And I think the Spurs are more than capable. Just even to the Stephon Castle, being a 4-year senior at UConn and playing under Coach Hurley and having that experience in big games. So it's definitely a good point. He also said if the Lakers don't have home court, they're not getting out the first. They should, though. I do think the Lakers will finish in the top 3. Luka's a special talent, but every playoff game and his sandbag, but every playoff game has a sorry, Luka's a special talent, but every play has off game. Maybe this is off. And his sandbag defense is going to get him exposed. We all know what you mean, though. We definitely all know what you mean. It froze on the funniest face. I hope I'm not froze still. Am I still froze? Can y'all let me know if I'm still froze? But bro said, I got beef with the NBA refs. I mean, you're a Knicks fan, bro. Y'all got beef with every striped shirt in the building. He said, I'm good. Appreciate you. Confirmation. So yeah, man. Speaking of like Boston and Jason Tatum, I did just want to acknowledge, man, like what he's doing. And let me take a look at his stats because I didn't see what he's averaging right now, but I just seen the way he came with his confidence and his swagger. You know, everybody says he's auraless, and that's that's funny. But look at this. I mean, he's averaging 20 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists on 40%, which obviously we want to bump those numbers up. But you know, look at the splits, right? Like 6 of 16 came back first game. All right, 6 of 16 again, but he's dropping 20. You know, he had 12 rebounds in his debut, uh, 14 rebounds the other night versus the Wizards. And I don't care if this is versus the Suns, this is versus the Wizards, and this is right now actually. Tonight he's at 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. So I don't care if he did this versus the Wizards. Look what he did versus the Spurs, right? 10 of 24 shooting, 5 rebounds in 27 minutes. He's getting his feet back acclimated and building his confidence, getting his stamina back. And I feel like it's like the perfect warm up to just get hot right in the playoffs. And I'm actually scared of what the Celtics could be this year, bro, because I mean they find a way every year, and you got to give them credit to that. They do. But shout out to Coach Mazzulla. I have to say this. Shout out to Coach Mazzulla because I give him a lot of shit, and you know, just because I'm a Heat fan, right? Whatever. But I do got to give credit where it's due. Coach of the Year stuff right now. He's been in his bag all year, and now he has Jason Tatum at his disposal. Every player has a bad game. Sorry, Dante. Thanks for that clarification. And then Brill said he got no beef with Bam. Shout out to Brill not having no beef with Bam for the 83 points. And if you do have beef with Bam, I just want you to look in the mirror and just ask yourself, like, why? You know what I'm saying? Just ask yourself why. Because somebody like him with the character he walks around with and you know, the type of teammate he is, the type of energy, defensive pest and you know, energy booster, like he deserves it. Would I expect it? Did I ever think I was going to see a game where Bam dropped 44? No. But I will say, Michael Beasley told us, he said Bam Adebayo is one of the best one-on-one players in the NBA. He's one of the best. So, Bill said, yeah, I'm not going to yell at a player for getting 40 free throws. I'm looking at the refs crazy. Yeah, I mean, you know, and you got to look at Washington crazy too, because if you go back and look, there were a lot of fouls committed on Bam Adebayo. A lot of them were, you know, they were, you know, it went both ways, but there was a lot of fouls that they were just giving it up. And so Washington is one of the worst teams in the league. This is a team that went into that game that Tuesday night last week with 5 road wins. You know, Trae Young and Anthony Davis' street clothes on the sideline waiting for next year. They're trying to get a top, we were saying 3 pick. By the way, we got to talk about college basketball. We're going to get there, but this is a top 4 heavy draft. Like each of the 4 players that are going to be drafted in the top 4 can be number ones. And if we just like, if they each stayed in school one more year than each other, they would be the number 1 pick coming into the league. I just want y'all to know that. And I'm going to be excited to see who takes Darius Acuff, because if they take him at 2, it's going to say a lot. It's going to say a lot. I'll just leave that there till we get back. But I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about was this NBA expansion. You know, the NBA is talking about going to Vegas. The NBA is talking about going to Seattle, or I should say back to Seattle. So let's take a look here. I'm going to share my screen with y'all again. I like this feature here. I got this new little screen share feature. Just got to figure it out. But boom, here we are. So it says NBA expansion, Seattle, Las Vegas draft format, news, updates. I'm going to kind of walk everybody through. Whoever's not in tune, if you are, you know, correct me if you think I'm wrong about anything, or if you have any opinions or questions, please, I would love to hear and answer. But this says, in December 2020, Commissioner Adam Sandler said NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, said the league was taking a fresh look at the idea of expanding after nearly 2 decades. For the past 5 years, he's floated a concept. An entire industry around the idea has developed as great anticipation is built, right? So, why Seattle and Vegas? So, why Seattle? To right a past wrong. And I love the way this is simply and perfectly put. To right a past wrong. You know, Seattle fans, much like I would say St. Louis Rams fans in the NFL, we're just stripped of a beloved franchise. Um, you know, for a professional sports team, right? That's got to be tough. Like I couldn't imagine it would never happen to Miami Heat, right? Like, would never happen to Miami Heat. But like I couldn't imagine if they were like, "Yo, we're just gonna like take your team and put them." First of all, OKC. If you took my favorite team and moved them to Oklahoma, I don't know how I would feel about that. I don't know if I would chase the team. I don't know if I would feel a way about the team or the NBA, or if I would just like find the next favorite. That's a tough spot. You put a lot of Supersonics fans in tough spots. However, they had Kevin Durant, right? And it was his second year in the league or something like that. So one, we're here 20 years later. We're going to be here 20 years later, like doing this, which is pretty cool. But KD went to OKC, right? And they drafted Russ. And so, like, I think it was okay for Supersonics fans to be like, you know, we like the Thunder. We like Oklahoma City. It's still Kevin Durant, right? So, but they said Seattle's been the biggest city in the country without an NBA team for nearly 20 years since the Sonics moved to OKC. Bringing them back 20 years later would be one of the defining events of Silver's tenure as commissioner. Absolutely. And they say, for years, the NBA's issue with the NBA's return to Seattle, was a lack of replacement for Key Arena. It was deemed inadequate by the league as part of the Sonics move, and that changed in 2021 when the renovated Climate Pledge Arena opened as home of the WNBA's Storm and the expansion NHL Seattle Kraken. So they've got everything they need in Seattle. They've got the name, they've got the fans, they've got the court or the arena, and the support of others around the league. I think this is going to be amazing. And I read somewhere as well that I think OKC is basically going to give all the history back to the Supersonics. So OKC, got the title though, right? I think that stays in Oklahoma City, right? I don't know. I think that stays in Oklahoma City. That don't go back to Seattle. Seattle ain't got nothing to do with 2025. You know what I'm saying? So, and 2026, because Shai Gilgeous. I hope y'all know this. Shai Gilgeous going back to back, right? Can we agree? If anybody listening disagree with me, besides Brill, because Brill is Knicks are bust, but can we all agree that SGA, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Kason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, they going back to back, right? Shout out to Adam Sandler. Shout out to Brill's dog, Adam Sandler. That's a fact because, everybody know Brill was hooping with that boy, Adam Sandler. You know what's crazy? And my bad, y'all. I was reading through this whole article. Look at this. I was reading through this whole article, and I wasn't showing y'all, so I apologize. I'm still getting used to this shit. I'm happy the Hornets, he said, I'm happy the Hornets are playing well. The play-in tournament was looking like the Heat, Hawks, Bulls Invitational. And that's a fact, Dante. But bring on new competition. The Miami Heat have tried to move into 6th spot after tonight or tomorrow. Why Las Vegas? Let's get back into this real quick and we'll get out of this NBA. But Vegas is the league's unofficial 31st city. They host Summer League there. They do, their NBA and Rowdies Cup championship there. We just seen the Raiders have a new team and what that's doing for that city and revenue for the team. The Las Vegas Aces coming from San Antonio in 2018. Such and such. We know why. Because Vegas got all the money. Why wouldn't they go to Vegas, right? Could other cities get a team? Yeah, several other cities have been asking for a team, such as Mexico City, Vancouver, and Montreal, Kansas City, Louisville, Nashville. But, listen to what I just said. Nobody cares to watch a team from there. I'm sorry, and that's just respectfully as possible. whether it's an American city like Kansas City. We didn't care for OKC. Not to say they didn't do good, but like, who cares? Louisville, Nashville. They've got great college and they've got great NFL in Nashville. So like, let's leave that there. Um, yeah, I think Vegas and Seattle are Vegas is also a tourist attraction. We're going to get a lot of fans from around the world, much like you get at the Garden. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. They're going to do a vote on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken, or the 25th. And right now, all signs are pointing towards all the owners voting for the expansion. And how that works, I have the rules here. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Where we at? Where we at? Boom. So the rules for the expansion draft are going to be as follows. Well, that's if I can find it. I ain't gonna lie to y'all boys. There we go. So says expansion teams will get to steal unprotected players from teams. So teams are going to be able to protect 8 of their players. Teams can't protect players on expiring or restricted free agents. Only 1 player taken per team. Contracts transfer as they are. And expansion teams get good NBA draft chances at the number 1 overall pick. So, like, obviously they're going to be picking. It's going to be slim pickings around the league. I'm sure you'll find a couple steals because of the fact that, one, not all contracts will be lined up the way teams want them to. So I'm sure you're going to see teams getting their eggs in one basket and everything in order when it comes to that, because if by 2028 this is going to happen, you got to have the guys you want secured on your team staying. But it's got to be exciting if you're an expansion team or a fan of an expansion team, where it's like, you're going to see them grab, this guy and that guy. We might get like a Jalen Green type of talent, right? But then focus on the draft and just build from there. But it's kind of building from scratch. So that's pretty dope. Dante says, I don't know why it's not showing the comments. Hold on. This is getting me tight. What's going on, gang? What's going on, gang? All right. Well, I can read, so that's good. But says, can you really say that when the Spurs have put belt to ass on the Thunder multiple occasions this season? And OKC's parade looked buns. I'm rooting for a Knicks Spurs finals, to be honest. Brill said, me too. So, Dante, I understand the Spurs have put B2A on the Thunder, but regular season games and playoff games are two totally different things. So I can't, like, as much as I can say the Knicks can beat the Spurs, right? And the Spurs can beat the Pistons and the Spurs can beat the Thunder. Nice. But we have to see it in the playoffs. And so Jason is saying the Spurs need that playoff experience. And I totally agree with the fact that it would help them, but I don't think that they need it to beat the Thunder. However, back to Dante's point and them beating the Thunder. Shout out ATS. Yo, shout out to Jason, man. First of all, we know that whistle that OKC gets is something serious, right? And that's just the facts. We know that when it comes down to getting a bucket in the playoffs, possession by possession, you need that guy. Wemby is going to have to become that guy down the stretch. What I know about the Spurs is that they move the ball, they play exceptionally well as a team, and Wemby can dominate offensively. But I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see Wemby like getting the, Joel Embiid or getting the Jokic, like come down the court, ball's going to Wemby, clear out, let him go to work. I don't really see that from his game just yet consistently. Maybe he has a stretch or two for a couple games throughout the year, but that's not really his game. They move that ball and he moves around, and that ball finds its way in the rim. That's Spurs basketball. But in the playoffs, you still need to have that guy that can get a bucket any possession, and SGA is absolutely that. So it just makes me feel more comfortable to say that OKC can beat or will beat the Spurs if we're talking about it right now, right? If the game was tomorrow and it was April or mid-April or early May, like maybe my feelings would change. I've seen more right now. I mean, SGA missed 3 weeks of basketball, came back, dropped 36 points or so, and he's just hasn't missed a beat. 20-point streak, beat who was it? Oscar Robertson or Wilt Chamberlain, excuse me, Wilt Chamberlain's record for most 20-point games straight. It just did it again yesterday when he had 8 points in the fourth quarter. Uh, so that one of one type of stuff, it's hard to bet against Dante. That's all I'm gonna say. But I do think the Spurs, can beat them for sure. They can. And that I was having this conversation with Brill, as far as the Knicks in the East. The Knicks can absolutely win the East, but I can see them absolutely not winning the East too. And now the Knicks are going to get a lot of shit with this Mikal Bridges shit. Like Mikal Bridges is going to have to step up. It's not the time to be struggling. Last 6 games, 39 points total, averages 6 a game. Word to Stephen A. And I have to reiterate that because when I heard that, I said, Mikal Bridges don't got to get you 25 points again. Mikal Bridges got to get you 15 to 17 points every game. And I'm not gonna do the Stephen A. Oh, you guys did this and Jalen Brunson. Look, bro, y'all got the team. Y'all was able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Y'all was able to beat Boston in the second round and do something you haven't done in a while. You're gonna be able to do that again. And the opportunity is gonna be right in front of you. But when it gets there, with Jason Tatum coming back and Jaylen Brown and the Celtics playing as great as they are, with James Harden and Donovan Mitchell looking like they're able to click a little more, still a little shaky over there in Cleveland, but they're starting to click a little bit. And then the other team, right? Who's the other team in the East? Detroit, right? Detroit. I think that what they've done all year has been sustain the number one seed. And they have a guy to go to down the stretch. They have a guy to go get a bucket who can play both sides of the ball. So the Knicks are going to have to figure things out with Mikal Bridges. I think Mikal Bridges is going to have to figure things out with his role so that it gives me more confidence to say, they're going to beat this team for sure in this round and in that round. But right now, this Knicks team is very good. Very good. They're even great. They're a great team. But I don't know if we can use the C word. I don't know if let me not throw no signs up. I don't know if we could use that word. Team, Dante said those have really felt like playoff games if you watch them. Snarky ass. It's definitely going to depend on who has home court, in my opinion. They beat them like 3 times in 10 days, 2 of them with OKC at home. And there was also some health issues in those games too, Dante. But yes, I did watch them. And 2, you're right. Like, I don't disagree. The Spurs, the intensity is there for these games. OKC is going to have home court advantage. I don't think that the Spurs are going to catch up to them, but it's going to be good. I'll be happy if Wemby beats them, right? I'd be happy if Wemby wins his first championship this year. I'm not rooting against them at all. I just think that crowd in OKC, the way they play as a team, their defense, Kason Wallace being such a pest on ball, it's just tough, man. It's just real tough. Mikal had a slow season last year, too, was a top fourth quarter scorer in the playoffs right after. I'm not worried about him. We also have more depth now to make up for whatever production he's lacking. And I think 2 things can be true. Like, you guys do have more depth to make up. And, yeah, last year that was true. That's not that was last year, so I'm not concerned about the first comment. The second comment, I could agree with. You guys do have more depth now to make up for whatever production he's lacking. Now, are those guys going to step up? We'll find out. But that's not that's the thing. Like, this is, to me, bro, it's like you're excusing it. Like, it should be like, I want to see you're like, yo, bro, you're right. Like, Mikal needs to tighten the fuck up because it's not okay. Like, just because he had a slow end season last year and came into no, we don't want to see the slow. We don't pay you to be slow to score 6 points a game in a 6-game stretch. We don't. That's way too much money and stuff on the line for this. I understand the perspective as a fan, right? Like being optimistic and seeing the way around it. I totally get that, but I think it's as a you're looking at basketball or someone who's looking at like a GM like value. So your next comment, you said his defense still been solid. Had a game stealing playoff block on Tatum last year. I'm not talking about last year anymore. He still has value out there scoring, but has been ass as fuck. So I appreciate the acknowledgement because it's not been just like he's been ass, but you know, yeah, like Bridges has value for sure. There is value in Bridges because at the end of the day, he can turn it on, and that's the good thing. We're like, why aren't you just on, right? And that's the frustrating part about watching him. I'm sure for you guys because there were times in Phoenix where it didn't turn off, and so obviously slightly different role here in New York. But it's been some time, and I did hear Stephen A's point, and I did kind of laugh when he mentioned how he was complaining about Tom Thibodeau. And this is neither here nor there because it has nothing to do. I'm just kind of like poking fun. But he was complaining about Tom Thibodeau, and he kind of was the teammate that stepped up in terms of like calling out, his regimen and how he runs guys to the dirt and, guys get tired. But to your point, bro, you guys do have more depth and you guys also have a new head coach. So if OG has a good playoff run, we'll be straight. Yeah, I agree. Excuse me. Bro said, I don't think what you said about him was wrong at all. I'm saying in terms of making or breaking us as a contender, he's not that crucial. And that's fair. Like you think OG is definitely a bigger factor, but he's a starter on the Knicks, man. I think you guys all got to get in tune and show up night in, night out in the playoffs for you guys to win a championship. Like shit has to be damn near perfect to win a championship. And when it's not, that's when you have to start seeing some sort of magic happen. Like it's like all things have to go right, and you need a little luck to win championships in sports. And so this isn't part of the script, is kind of what I'm just saying. Listen, I'm rooting for the Knicks, says Dante, but they definitely got swept by Cade and those boys. I think the Pistons have a better defense than New York. Absolutely. It's not a question they do. But I want to say this. The Knicks got Jalen Brunson, right? I'm going to give Jalen Brunson his credit as to who he is in the league and what he is as a point guard, or as a guard, I should say, because he's a scoring guard. But he can take his team, you know what I'm saying, and lead them to victory. And the guys around him got to step up. So it's what I am looking forward to is a rematch between the Knicks and the Pistons, and seeing a Kay Cunningham, Jalen Brunson duel in year 2 of that playoff matchup. Pistons have a better defense, but they'll have to play basketball in the playoffs. LOL. Them motherfuckers be fouling crazy shit, not gonna be the same anymore. I mean, look, bro, I know we had this conversation and this was one of your points at that time, and I'll let you run with it. I'm gonna let you run with it, and I'm gonna just let it run its course itself. If you're right, you're right. If you're not, you're not. I don't think you're gonna be right. I do think the Pistons are a good basketball team. They do play extremely physical. It's part of their brand. It's always been their culture. And I don't think that's going to be their detriment. Kay Cunningham is a superstar in this league. They have guys who can, get buckets from all over the court. They're deep as well. So I'm not going to go with they're going to have to play basketball. All these comments could be made about each of these teams, right? Harden's on the Cavs for what it's worth, but they're still elite. It's possible for the Knicks to go out like Boston last year and allow poor shooting to kill them. That's what happens when you live and die by the shots. And then Dante said, if anything, they're gonna let more stuff slide in the playoffs that won't help JB use a smaller guard. And I kind of feel that way as well, where they kind of swallow their whistle a little more there. I did want to jump into a little bit of college basketball. I'm not gonna be here, all night, but some college basketball. Let me see. Y'all still see my screen here? Let me put this screen share back. By the way, you see what's going on right here. Watch this. Hold on. There you go. You see that Duke back there, man. Let me show you cinematic mode. Look at. Oh, why they doing that? Oh, I gotta do like this. Yeah, you see it. ACC champions, man. Stop playing. ACC champions, man. Not again. Back to back. I should play that song, but I can't play that song because they're gonna hit me on my email like, yeah, we're gonna take your video down. Cause Drake said you. I don't even know if I can say bruh name on here. But yeah, my dog's going back to back. You see my coach Shire right there. You see Caden. You see Cameron. You see my dog Isaiah. Shout out to Caleb Foster, man. We're gonna miss Caleb Foster this tournament. I'm not gonna do a whole college basketball tournament preview and all that because I don't got my guys with me tonight. When I get some of the guys with me, we'll talk more about college basketball. But I did want to show y'all this because who doesn't jump for joy when they see this right here? Duke heads into March Madness ranked number 1 in the AP Top 25. 50 of the 57 votes from the media. Arizona, second place. Third, Michigan. Fourth, Florida. Toronto, top 5. Houston, who we lost to in the Elite 8 last year. Oh, man. It's going to be a fun tournament. I'm not sure who's going to win it exactly, but I will say this. I do think that we're going to get a good Final Four of a lot of the top teams in the country. I think Duke and Arizona are going to make it to the Final Four, and I think Florida, Duke, Arizona, Florida, and then it's going to be either Iowa State or Houston. We're going to have to figure that out. But those are like my Final Four that I see right there. Let me get back to this little other view real quick. There we go. So yeah, man, moving on. Max Crosby was a Raider, then he became a Baltimore Raven, and then he's still a Raider now. That was pretty crazy. That's actually one of the craziest things that we've seen in NFL free agency trade season in quite some time. And I know that Baltimore is they say first class organization, but that move right there is going to be watched, and I'm sure the Raiders feel a type of way about that, right? And we'll see how teams around the league in the future react to that type of drama because you have a deal in writing or you have a deal verbal deal. What do they call that? What is that called when in principle, right? In principle. And then, cold feet, or you don't want to call it cold feet, but the medical team comes knocking and says, hey, I think we should rescind our offer because he's got bad knees. He can't walk. It's like, yeah, well, he did just have surgery. So, maybe we give him another month and a half to fucking give him a physical. Hey, I think the Raiders should trade him, right? Because at the end of the day, he's making a lot of money, and their timelines don't match. Like that's a Super Bowl caliber, Super Bowl winning, Super Bowl affecting, Super Bowl take your team type to the Super Bowl defensive edge. He's a generational edge, Max Crosby, and I don't care. I'm gonna say that. Like Max Crosby is a guy that everybody wants on his team because if you watch any sort of film, if you watch Raiders film, you're gonna be bored if you watch offense, and you're going to be bored if you watch defense. But if you just zero in on Max Crosby, play after play, you're going to find a guy who gives effort like nobody else in the business. And this is not this is what we've seen for the last 5 years or so, and why his premium was 2 first-round draft picks at first. Now, obviously, with the health concern and the media, it's going to draw that price line down significantly. So shout out to whoever does get to end up with him. Dante, if you're still watching, I know the Bills could really benefit from a guy like Max Crosby. I mean, could you imagine Max Crosby joining Gregory Rousseau as the guy? It's like you guys went from Joey Bosa and Von Miller, and shout out to Von Miller because he definitely balled out, but Joey Bosa Kind of hurt you guys more than anything at the end of last year. But Max Crosby, best edge in the league after the Defensive Player of the Year. Who's the second best edge in the league, man? Because if it ain't Max Crosby, who is it? I mean, it's obviously Myles Garrett. Who's the second best, man? Who's the second best? It's got to be Max, Mad Max. I already mentioned that the Jets traded Lil Buddy. What's Buddy name? Justin Fields, JF1. They traded him. And wow, I guess we'll kind of like wrap things up soon, but let me just talk about that World Baseball Classic. Can I don't know if I could do this. Could I show like a highlights? Well, we don't got to do all that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up that picture. USA. I'm gonna pull up that picture. Now, before I pull up this picture, I just want to say shout out to both teams, first of all. Shout out to both teams. Both USA and DR went crazy. Like, when I say them boys went crazy, those pitchers, like Miller at the end, like Skeens to start it off, it was like Mason Miller was throwing 102 in that bottom of the ninth. It was crazy. Now, let's go to the John Boy Media. That's a little loud. I don't know if y'all hear that, so I'm going to just pause that because I wasn't trying to hear no ads. Maybe I should just pay for you. You know what? I'm going to just skip this ad right here because we grown. And I'm put this video down. So this is a crazy at bat, by the way. Let me see if we can hear this. Yeah, let me know if y'all hear that, please. Oh my! Wait, look at this. Let's go back a little bit. Is this the whole at bat? Let's see. All right, so we're at 1-1. Take a look. I love John Boy, by the way. Shout out to John Boy Media, man. Some internet goats.
Perfect pitch, exactly where he wants that to be. Perdomo doesn't even consider it. Look at this pitch. If it hangs and it gets in there for a strike, that's awesome. If he chases it, that's ideal.
Even
He's
better.
going to swing right over it. That is a beautiful pitch. Perdomo to work the at bat. We got
Dominicano.
praying. We got hoping. It's a full count.
Man, my people.
Goes back to the
foul it off. This was a crazy at bat, and it was so tense. And what a not here. That was the one. I'm not gonna lie.
Right down the middle. Velocity, foul back.
On 100 miles.
Even more sped up. You can drop the breaking ball in, and he does.
Oh,
strike three.
God.
And the U.S. win a crazy.
I feel like that umpire wanted to say strike three before he even caught the ball. That is
sped up. You can drop.
Umpire was born in. Whoever texted the chat and was like, "How about never bet against?" All right, my fault. It was a little laggy. My fault. But never bet against USA in any sport. It doesn't matter. Like, come on, what are y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? What y'all doing? I'm over here. So I'm working out kinks, and I appreciate everybody that's with me right now. You see, I was showing y'all the wrong tab. You know what I'm saying? I didn't transfer the tab. So that's on me. I appreciate you, bro. We'll work on that connection. But yeah, so in this game, like, we just saw amazing pitching and great defense because there were ample opportunities for the Dominican Republic to score and take the lead and win this game, and they didn't take advantage of them. So I'm not as upset with the loss more so because I was rooting for DR. But I'm not as upset with the loss because it was fair and square. Like strikeouts happen that way. We see it all the time, and it's not like this is something new, right? If this was like a new thing where refs just started making decisions, it's like why? But we've seen games ended this way for 100 years, and also we saw in the seventh inning, DR had first and third, one out, and couldn't come up with it. We saw Tatis try to outrun Aaron Judge's arm from short right field, right? And so it just wasn't their night. USA has the best pitcher in the World Baseball Classic. I want to say that, Paul Skeens, with the exception of Shohei. I don't think he's pitching right now still, but Paul Skeens uh, is Captain America, and yeah, I think what we saw from that U.S. team, and also what we saw from Luis Severino and the guys in the Dominican Republic bullpen who held it down all tournament, it was just a masterclass. And so DR, I think DR was outscoring their opponents 51 runs to 10 before coming into that USA game, and they lost one run game. They had one run, and they only let up two, and they were all solo home runs. It was three straight solo home runs, right? So, um, it was fun. It was fun. I was with my Dominican homies uptown, so shout out to my boys Juan, Mace, Edwin, his wife, and Mel. Shout out to the gang. We ain't come out with a win, but technically we did because we all Dominican American. USA. But if it was basketball, like I said, if it was basketball, it's Team USA all the way, all day. Baseball, I think it matters more for from the islands, So you got to shout out to Puerto Rico. You got to shout out to Dominican Republic. But I do want to say this final is going to be a really good final because if you guys watched that game, Venezuela versus Japan on Saturday, I was watching Duke UVA ACC championship, Venezuela, uh, Japan. So, bro, I'm about to hang it up, bro. I'm about to hang it up. Just ride with me. 2 more minutes, man. I'm about to hang it up. I'm about to get out y'all here. It's been an hour anyway. Appreciate y'all rocking as long as y'all did. But I do want to say, Venezuela versus USA. USA is starting a pitcher that I've never heard of. I want to be completely honest, but with the hitting in their lineup and their bullpen, they're going to be just fine. Venezuela was able to get up on Japan. Those bats were swinging, and Wilyer Abreu, and what's bro name? Ronald Acuna, man, put the team on their back. So shout out to them. But he said I was talking about USA versus DR. That's funny. In terms of picking a side, yeah. Man, anything else, man? Anything else? Let me just double check the scores real quick. What we got going on in the NBA world? Are the Warriors still winning? They are. The Hawks are still up big on Orlando. That Jonathan Kuminga trade, man. Boston is up on Phoenix. Chicago's up on Memphis. Dallas is losing. Ew, Dallas is losing to New Orleans. Yikes. And in the hockey world, for those that don't give a fuck, which is all of y'all in here, probably, let me not judge y'all. Boston, New Jersey tied at 3. Detroit's beating Calgary 4-2. Rangers are losing to the Kings 3-1. Utah is tied up with the Stars 1-1. And Pittsburgh at Colorado. Sidney Crosby going to Colorado to play the Avalanche at 9:30. That's on ESPN. Obviously, still got some preseason baseball or whatever spring training baseball, but we don't really watch that anyways, right? We just wait till the season starts and get the free T-Mobile MLB TV for the season. So listen, this has been a fun time. I appreciate everybody that's tapped in, that's been here for the whole time, that tapped in and out, asked questions, made a comment. We're streaming live on Twitch, by the way. If y'all want to go watch this on Twitch, y'all can watch this on YouTube. Y'all can watch this on our Twitter. Our Twitch is at ATS Pod, much like our Twitter, at ATS Pod. Follow, like, subscribe, support, share the page, tell a friend, tell your girl, Shout out to y'all. Have a great night. and I'm gonna see y'all probably Wednesday, maybe Thursday.